Okay, it's time to get started. Thank you everyone for joining our live lecture today. My name is Isaac and I'll be the lead instructor for the lecture. And today's topic is mobile development. So let's go ahead and let's start off by talking about the different kinds of mobile development. Okay, so the first kind, and most widely used, is native app development. Okay, so that's just using the whatever language the software was written in, for that specific device. That's the specific language that's used to write the application. Okay, and then we've got another kind called cross-platform. Okay, so a cross-platform, also known as a hybrid app, is essentially a small website running in a browser shell in an app that has access to the native platform layer. Okay, so you see over here in this diagram, it looks very similar to just a regular web app. Okay, except a hybrid app takes this native wrapper into where we can actually put this on the Google App Store or the iOS store, right? If we want to launch those to various platforms. Okay. So one big difference between native and hybrid is the amount of code base you need. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to launch a native Android app and a native iOS app, well, that would mean I'd have to hire two different developers to do that. Okay, and so as you can see, it'd be a little more costly. Whereas a hybrid app, I can use simple technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I can create my app with those and launch to all the platforms with just one code base. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on learning cross-platform development. Okay, so now let's talk about the technology stack we're going to be using. So the first item is called Cordova. Okay, and Cordova is an open source mobile development framework. It allows you to use standard web technologies such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for cross-platform development. So let's go ahead and take a look at the official website for Cordova. Okay, so if you need a reference to documentation, this is where you find it. Next, we're going to be utilizing the Ionic framework, which is going to be using AngularJS and Cordova, and it's going to be used to build out the user interface for our application. Okay. So now we know what tools we're building with. Let's go ahead and talk about one little restriction that has to do with iOS development. And it's this simple. If you want to write a native or cross-platform app for iOS, then you have to use a Mac computer so you have access to Xcode. Okay, so that being said, today we're going to be building an Android app. And that way, no matter what operating system you have, you can follow along. So let's start off by installing Cordova. Okay, so let's open up our command line here, and we'll start by saying npm install -g Cordova. Now, I've already got it installed on my machine, so I'm not going to execute this. But if you don't have it installed, then definitely go ahead and run that. Okay, so once Cordova is installed, we have access to the Cordova command line tool, which is going to allow us to quickly scaffold together a base application for Cordova. And that way we don't have to put the files together one by one. And you'll see in a minute that we definitely wouldn't want to do that because there's a lot of them. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's quickly put this together. I'll change to my desktop, and then let's say our Cordova create hello world com hello world example, or I got those backwards. It's .com example dot hello world. Okay, and then we will name the actual source folder hello world. Okay, execute that, and it will populate a base Cordova app on our desktop for us there. Okay, there it is. Excellent. Okay, so go ahead and let's open this up. Okay, so I'm going to change directories into hello world, and then let's open it up inside of our text editor. Okay, so we'll just give that a minute to spin up. Okay. So as you can see, we got a lot of stuff going on here, right? They built out, all the basics that we needed. So this is, ready to launch basically. Okay. So you might notice we have, these platforms here, and this is where we're going to store the configuration for different platforms like Android and iOS and all that. Okay. So now let's go ahead and let's set this up to where we can, you know, uh, launch it in the browser and inspect what's going on when it is. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's run our server. Okay. So if you don't have a server, you'll need to install one. You can get HTTP server installed real easily by going npm install -g HTTP. And I'm not going to do that because I already have it installed. But once you do that and you are in your Hello World directory, we can simply say HTTP-server, and it's going to serve it up for us. Okay, and we can tell it's on local port 8080. Okay, so let's go ahead and navigate there. And from here, we just need to select www. Now, as we can see, Cordova is launching. Okay, and it's attempting to connect to a device. But at this time, it's actually never going to connect because we don't have any sort of like device emulator or anything like that set up. Okay, so it's just going to hang there in the browser. Okay, so that's our next step, is we need to add Android as a platform for our Cordova app, and then set up Android Studio to emulate a Android virtual device using our program. Okay, so to do this, let's go ahead and let's start by navigating to or exiting out of our first command here, and then let's go ahead and let's add the Android platform. First things first, okay? So I'm going to say Cordova add Android, or Cordova platform add. There we go. Platform add Android --safe. Okay. So now it's going to go out and fetch all the configuration we need for the Android platform. Okay, and this will take a minute or two. Actually, a lot of things with mobile development take a minute or two, especially these installations, just because mobile devices just aren't as powerful as computers, and so they have a harder time running things, and need a little more help in that regard. Okay, so looks like we brought that in. Okay, so now that that's brought in, let's go ahead and let's build this. Okay, so we're gonna say Cordova build. Okay, and this is going to get ready for production, so we can see it in the emulator and all that good stuff. Okay, we'll just give it a second to complete that process. As you can see, I was not joking when I said there's lots of wait time. Okay, looks like our build was successful. Okay, so now we need to set up Android Studio. Okay, and if you don't have Android Studio installed, you can go get it by simply going to developer.android.com/studio. Okay, and then let's give it a minute to pull that up. There we go. Okay, and then you're just going to download it for your specific operating system. Okay, And when you install Android Studio, you should get what's called the Android SDK. Okay, and an SDK is a software development kit. So those should come, bundled together because you're going to need both. All right. So next, now that we have installed and have Android Studio, let's go and open it up. Okay. So I'm just going to come to my applications here, and I'm going to look for Android Studio. Okay. We'll just give that a minute to spin up. Okay. All right. Looks like it's almost booted. Any day now. All right, so I'm just going to start by saying start a new Android Studio project. That's step one. Then I'm just going to name it Coder Camps Mobile. Okay, we'll click next. Make sure it's the latest SDK. I'm just gonna have it for phone and tablet. I'll ignore these other devices at the moment. Now we can choose a custom activity, right? So I'm just going to choose empty, keep it simple for now. And then I'm going to keep my activity, just the default name it gives me. Okay, so when I click finish, it's going to take a few minutes to spin up, and so we'll give it some time to do that. Okay, got some quick tips. I'm just going to close these. Then I'm going to give my processes down here a minute more so they can finish up. Okay, we are in business. Okay, so this will be our default screen. And from here, we need to go to what's called the Android Virtual Device Manager, or AVD Manager for short. Okay, so we got an array of icons up here. Just go to the one that has the little purple screen here. You'll notice this says AVD Manager, right? So go and click on that. And AVD stands for Android Virtual Device. Okay, so as you can see, we have an option to add a device or choose a previously created one. And as you can see, I already created one in the past, so I'm just going to use the same device. But if you don't have a device, just select one here, and they'll let you choose the brand and the model and all that stuff. So that way you can test different devices if you really need specifics. Okay, so that being said, now let's go ahead and click on the play icon here, and that's going to boot up the device for us. Okay, so we just got to give it a few minutes to do that. Okay, and it should turn on here in just a minute. There it is. And it'll just be a minute or so more before it boots up fully. Won't give it that time. Okay, there we go. We have an Android virtual device up and running. So now all we need to do is we just need to tell our Cordova app to run on the Android platform, and it will default and open up on this device. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's run that now. So we can say Cordova run Android. Execute. From here, let's give it a couple minutes and let it launch accordingly. If all goes well, we should see it change right before our eyes. Okay, build was successful. And there we go. It is launching to our device as we speak. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, this time, instead of saying trying to connect the device, right, and just hanging there, it actually says device is ready, right? This is an up and running mobile app now, and it is ready to develop. So now we've seen it from nothing to a actual live mobile application. Let's go ahead and take a moment to open the floor and see if anyone has any questions on what we've been over so far. Okay, so the floor is open. If you have questions on anything we've been over, feel free to ask away. Okay, no questions so far. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and continue then. Now we have a hang on how we can get Cordova up and running. Let's go ahead and talk about Ionic, right? Because Ionic is the user interface part of our project, right? The client side. So as we can see here, our end user really can't do anything with this, right? And so Ionic makes it really easy to scaffold together apps really quickly using its pre-built interface components. So let's go ahead and let's close down our our current emulator here. And then let's go ahead and exit, out of all these. Okay. And from here, I'm actually going to exit out of Hello World too. And let's go ahead and start by installing Ionic. Okay. So you can do this by saying npm install -g Ionic. Okay. That's another global install. So, install on your machine. Okay. And then once Ionic's installed, just like Cordova, we have access to a command line tool. Okay. The great part, though, is Ionic offers us some out-of-the-box starter kits, like some templates we can use. It also scaffolds together Cordova for us, so we don't have to do that from scratch. And it adds a base Angular app, which, that's what our Ionic logic is written in. To see all this in action, let's go ahead and start by saying npm actually, no. We want to. We already have Ionic. Then we want to change directories to our desktop, and then we want to say Ionic start, and then we'll just call this my first Ionic app. Okay. So now, gotta give that some time and let it give us our options here. And as you can see, we have some starter kits, right? Some stuff already put together for us. So I'm just going to choose the, the most, kind of rudimentary one, which is tabs here, right? So I'm just going to hit enter. And we'll just give it some time to, install all the, packages and set up all the configuration that is needed. and more waiting. But, that's okay. Better than having to put all this together from scratch by ourselves. All right, well, it looks like it got done with the first item. Handful left to go. Okay, now it's asking us if we'd like this app, to use like Ionic View. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just give it the default, and as we can see, it's letting us know that everything is set up now. All right, so from here, we can change directories into Ionic app, and then let's open this up inside of our text editor. Okay, so as you can see, similar structure to a Cordova app, right? Slightly different. But, the main, how do you say it? The main directory we need to pay attention to is the source here, right? Because this contains all of our client-side logic, and that's eventually, what's going to be displayed to the end user, okay? So to start everything and run this in an emulator, we can go ahead and we can say Ionic serve. Yeah, that's right. Ionic serve. Okay. Enter. Okay. So as you can see, we have it set up. So now we just have to toggle to, specific simulator here. And we can see that now we have a user interface, right? And I can even click these options down here, and it's going to change the content that's shown, right? So it's got a little bit basic routing set up, a little bit markup. Okay, so let's just play with this a bit, right? Let's change out some of the markup and add our own, and that way we could just, quickly understand how easy it is to add on to this base product. Okay, so we're going to go to Pages. I'm going to go to Home. And as we can see, everything, inside the Ion content here, that's what's being displayed, right? So let's go ahead and let's just get rid of all that. Put in H1, and we'll say hello world. Okay. So from here, let's save all. And as we can see, now we get hello world. And it's really that simple. I can really just come in here and write, use regular HTML elements, right? So it's just an H1, nothing special about that. And yeah, and then I can set up more routes, and pages as needed and change their content as desired. Okay. And yeah, that's Ionic in a nutshell. Their documentation has, a bunch of their built together components, that just come out of the box. So if you want to, do your research on those and see which ones you like, definitely, take advantage of their website docs for that. But yeah, really, you're just writing, a how do you say, a hybrid app, right? Using, Angular as the, kind of middle ground. All right, so let's go ahead and open up the floor again to see if anyone has any last questions today. Okay, so the floor is open. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away. All right, going once, going twice. All righty, well, thanks everyone for attending. Have a great day and happy coding.